So this morning's video about elo points I thought was a good one and a fun one, but within minutes of release, it was pointed out that LSS very quietly changed the points for Skirmish Season 7 to 1 point per victory instead of the 2 that had been previously. And not only does this change the math we were talking about, but it actually changes the narrative altogether. So let's try this again, looking at the Living Legend status and projections for Skirmish Season 7. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there again, my flesh and blood friends, and welcome back to Try 2 here on Dice Commando, talking the LL Skirmish season projections and outlook and all that. So obviously there was a cast this morning. My plan is not to take that one. I'm going to unlist it, but it'll still be up. I'm not going to delete it. There's no real point. There's still good discussion in there, but obviously a lot of the narrative changes when we look at this point. So again, I do want to thank the people who brought it to my attention very quickly. There's when LSS changed the points, it was done on the LO page. I didn't see an announcement or anything about it. It just kind of floated on the radar. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at the data again. I repulled everything this morning. So as of this morning, it was like 10 o'clock this morning, my time, there were 536 Blitz skirmishes listed in Gym. Now at 1 point per win, which, you do the quick math there, 536 total points available. Well, now that's, not as many as before. And you really start thinking about that, it really changes a lot in terms of the discussion. So let's go ahead and go over to the spreadsheet, which I will again, of course, maintain as we go through. And it'll be interesting to track this. And also, I just got home from work, and this time of day is really bad because it's rush hour, but I want to get this out as soon as possible. So thank you for dealing with the large motorcycles in the background. All right, so now we are at Kano. He is at still the same points as he was this morning, but with that 163 points remaining, that's 163 wins. So now he correlates to 30% win rate. That's interesting. I think definitely doable, right? If you look at what Icelander did last season, it can be done. But that's a lot. 1 out of every 3 is a lot. Is it possible that we actually don't LL anyone this season? I think it's potential. There's potential, right? Especially with the sideboarding experiment going on, right? We talked earlier, and we've talked a lot about how, the sideboarding will be largely targeted at who we consider to be the best performing heroes and should thus preferentially take points away from them, make less available to them, whatever it may be. So it's you look at these numbers, that's very scary for the future of Blitz as it may be, right? I definitely was expecting Kano to go away. I still think he will, but man, it's going to be close, I think. Moving on to Kassai, 41% seems not doable in terms of making it. So I think it's, when we talked before, Kassai was kind of maybe on the bubble, maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. I don't see it happening, right? 41% is too much. Chane at 46%, no way in hell does Chane hit 46%. And I mean, the narrative really continues now. I don't want to rehash everything we talked about this morning entirely, but something was brought up. So Damon, actually, shout out, he made a really good point, because I was kind of talking about the prisms separately, and he made a point basically that I should be looking at them together, because he thinks that essentially the players would cannibalize each other. And by that, I don't mean like in the fight, but folks who would have, if you are a Prism player, you're now choosing between 2 Prisms instead of adding Prism players into the mix by and large overall. And I think that's a fair argument. So when you look at Prism, so she would need to get 73% of the win. I know I'm talking OG Prism here, right? We need to get 73% of the wins. Not going to happen. But furthermore, she'll likely be under additional pressure because of Advent of Thrones being pretty good with Luminaris, right? So I think that's a really fair point. And will definitely affect those heroes, both of them, right, depending on which way players decide to go, versus there being one of them. The one we do need to see Prism LL, because Luminaris is a thing and probably, wasn't really designed to be with Advent of Thrones. But again, it's not going to happen. 395 points to go is insurmountable, right, in this season, and probably the next if we maintain 1 points. But we will see when we get there. I do still want to give a shout out to ASC and Emperor. I still think they're going to pull down points, right? But at 1 point, it's a much longer, especially for these folks that came in later. That's a long road to whatever the metaphor is. It's a lot of points to earn at one, right? It's a lot of wins to earn at 1 point per win. So one would assume that we'll carry 1 point going forward. I'd actually kind of wondered about that in the past, whether that would actually like correlate to like a half point or something later, or then do you just double everything and then make it 1,000 limit, right? And then backfill at 1. I don't know. They'll have to figure that out in the future, but we're probably a year or so away from that, which isn't that long actually, if you consider the pace we've been moving at in terms of growth of the game, which is absolutely a good thing. Also, I was able to think a little more about the Brutes thing. I think, I don't really know why Rhinar didn't do as well as he did last split season. I was really high on him going into the last skirmish season, and he kind of just didn't fit where I thought he would, but nothing's really changed there all in all. And if we see more illusionists, then he could do better, right? I mean, I think that's a very realistic, and by that I mean better than he did before. It's a very realistic possibility, but we will have to see. I still think Kassai is going to do extremely well. I think Kano is going to be the one that's most heavily sideboarded into, and I think Kassai is the one that's probably the hardest to sideboard against, because there's no real like special kill spell there or whatever. And then I think people are going to be running more poppers. I mean, that's really what you're going to run probably overall, is more poppers and more Oasis and more protection against Kano, and then maybe some silver bullet cards. So I still think Kassai does really well, but she's not going to do 40%. There's no way. I mean, if we're questioning whether Kano will do 30%, which I think is a reasonable question, I don't think it's reasonable to have the conversation about Kassai doing 40%. I just don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, that's kind of the recap. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole thing. Obviously, the 26th was not that long ago, but you do have my sorry, not sorry, right? Obviously, I make thumbnails and I make images and stuff like that. When I pulled the data, that's what it was, and it changed. So we'll come back and shoot the change video. And anyway, it is what it is. Thanks so much, folks, for, like I said, bearing with me and sticking with it. And, if you did like either one or both the series or this whole series, make sure to give this one a like too. And if you commented on the other one, give me a comment below. It helps, right? I'd really like to see this one get above the other one. Like I said, I'll delist the other one, but just give me a comment and sub if you liked the other one too, and then we can kind of cumulative it. So anyway, that's a special thank you from me, but that's just me trying to play the algorithms to get this in front of more people. So anyway, folks, again, have a great, I know, especially because it's later in the day, mini skirmishes even in the US have probably started at this point. So starting to see some points probably roll in and some reports. Pretty cool. That'll do it for me. Best of luck to skirmish. Go my Kassai players. Now you can hack and slash to your heart's content, because we ain't going to lose her, I don't think. So nothing else, folks. Go Commando.